They built a €1 billion airport in the middle of nowhere. A runway for A380s, a terminal for 2 million passengers. 3 years later, it shut down. No airlines, no trains, no travelers. Ciudad Real became Europe's most infamous ghost airport, a symbol of how easy money and big promises can crash. So what went wrong?
This morning, an airport built with dreams of becoming one of the nation's busiest is sitting almost empty.
A Spanish airport that cost €1 billion to build has attracted a bid of just €10,000. Ciudad Real La Mancha Airport opened in 2008, only to go bankrupt and close by 2012.
An airport close to Madrid has been put up for sale for a minimum price of €100 million. It's part of a process by administrators to secure a future for Ciudad Real's airport.
In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Spain was booming. EU funds, cheap credit, and sweeping public investment ushered in a golden age of infrastructure: motorways, high-speed rail, culture centers, and airports. In Castilla-La Mancha, a rural region better known for grain fields and Don Quixote than for aviation, local leaders saw an opening. Backed by Presidents José Bono and José María Barreda, Ciudad Real Central Airport was pitched as Spain's first privately financed international hub, designed to ease pressure on Madrid Barajas and spark growth in one of the country's most underserved regions. Declared a project of strategic interest in 2002, it gained fast-track approval. Funding came almost entirely from Caja Castilla-La Mancha, a politically linked regional bank, which supplied €337 million and took a 68% stake. The airport's ambition was massive: 10 million passengers a year, a cargo hub, and a future link to the Madrid-Sevilla-Ava high-speed rail. Its branding was less stable. Don Quixote Airport leaned on heritage. Madrid South tried to attract airlines, but at 200 kilometers away, it didn't fly. The name settled uneasily on Ciudad Real Central. Construction began in 2004, but faced early delays: environmental protests, permitting issues, and night flight restrictions due to a special bird protection zone. By the time it opened in late 2008, the financial crash had already hit. The final cost? Over €1.1 billion. So why build a major international airport in the middle of La Mancha? Well, back in the early 2000s, Madrid Barajas was approaching capacity. Terminal 4 wouldn't open until 2006, and demand projections suggested Spain needed new aviation infrastructure. Ciudad Real, about 200 kilometers south of Madrid, was pitched as a solution, an alternate gateway with room to grow. The plan was to link it to the Madrid-Sevilla-Ava high-speed rail, shrinking the travel time to the capital to under an hour. Politically, it made sense too. Regional leaders saw it as a way to spark development in Castilla-La Mancha, one of Spain's poorest and most underconnected regions. Ciudad Real had just 75,000 residents, but officials imagined it becoming a logistics hub, an MRO center, and a magnet for cargo and investment. Across Spain, infrastructure was seen as a ticket to prosperity. With EU funds flowing and credit cheap, cities and regions competed to build high-profile megaprojects. Airports, rail stations, and even entire ghost cities, symbolizing a belief that investment alone would generate demand. Ciudad Real fit that formula perfectly. The blueprint was flawless on paper. Reality, however, had other plans. At the turn of the millennium, Spain was in the middle of an infrastructure boom. New roads, new rail, new airports, each one a symbol of progress. And for regional politicians, nothing said legacy like concrete on a grand scale. Ciudad Real Airport was pitched as a bold answer to two challenges. First, Madrid Barajas was nearing capacity, and second, Castilla-La Mancha remained one of Spain's least developed regions, rural, disconnected, and economically underperforming. Local leaders framed the airport as a catalyst, a new logistics hub, an MRO center, a cargo gateway. One projection even claimed it could boost regional GDP by 8.5%. a figure that, in hindsight, feels ridiculously optimistic. The plan hinged on a key promise: connection. The new AVA high-speed rail station would link the airport to Madrid in under an hour, allowing it to operate like a southern extension of the capital. That station was never built. Even so, confidence was sky high. Officials believed low-cost airlines would flood in, tourists would follow, and businesses would invest. To sweeten the deal, the airport offered airline subsidies disguised as marketing support, briefly attracting carriers like Ryanair, Welling, and Air Berlin. But those routes didn't last. Passenger numbers never materialized. Madrid Barajas solved its own problems by opening Terminal 4 in 2006, easing pressure and making Ciudad Real redundant before it even launched. This was a billion-euro megaproject built for a moment that passed it by. On paper, Ciudad Real Central Airport was an engineering success. A 4.2-kilometer runway, reinforced and fully equipped to handle the world's heaviest aircraft, including the Airbus A380. Parallel taxiways were laid, one for narrow bodies, another widened for wide-body jets, to streamline movement and reduce turnaround times. The terminal spanned 28,000 square meters, with modular construction designed for future expansion. Cargo zones were included from the outset, with facilities targeting up to 47,000 tons annually, complete with conveyor systems and secure freight handling areas. Behind the scenes, the infrastructure was equally ambitious. Advanced air traffic control, a 24-hour fire suppression network, and apron space for up to 20 large aircraft gave the airport true international potential. Even the 300-meter footbridge built for a planned high-speed AVA station reflected the forward-looking vision. The terminal was built for 24/7 operations, free from the terrain or noise curfews that limit many Spanish airports. But engineering can only go so far. Part of the site sat within a special bird protection zone, triggering EU environmental regulations that led to construction delays, restricted airspace, and limitations on night flights, undermining the 24-hour model the airport was sold on. And most critically, none of this could fix the geography. The AVA footbridge connected to nothing. Road access was decent, but still remote. The site was just too far from where people actually needed to fly. Ciudad Real was built right, just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ciudad Real Central Airport wasn't just about flights. It was sold as a transformative economic engine for all of Castilla-La Mancha. Supporters promised a logistics epicenter where air cargo, road freight, and high-speed rail would converge. It would attract global firms, spark regional investment, and create thousands of jobs. Politicians claimed it could lift regional GDP by as much as 8.5%. Investors even suggested it could rival Madrid Barajas for air traffic. EU development funds supported this vision, targeting underdeveloped regions like La Mancha to finance the surrounding industrial park and road access. But beneath the rhetoric sat a fragile financial core. Though pitched as a private initiative, the airport relied almost entirely on Caja Castilla-La Mancha, a savings bank tied to the regional government. That one bank loaned €337 million, took a 68% equity stake, and bankrolled nearly the entire project. By 2009, it became Spain's first major financial institution to collapse during the post-2008 crisis. In total, over €1.1 billion went into Ciudad Real, including land, construction, airline subsidies, and 4 years of operating losses. And what did that deliver? Well, in 2009, the airport served just 53,500 passengers. In 2010, it dropped to 33,500. A terminal designed for 2 million people a year was running at under 2% capacity. Without major airline partners, without steady traffic, and without the promised high-speed rail link, the entire business case crumbled. What was meant to be a gateway became, as one analyst put it, an overbuilt asset adrift in a mismatched market. After closing in 2012, Ciudad Real Airport sat dormant, runway crossed with yellow X's, terminal empty, and €1 billion of infrastructure gathering dust. But the story didn't end there. In 2015, a company tried to buy the airport at auction for just €10,000, less than the cost of a second-hand van. The buyer claimed Chinese backing and promised a new trade hub.
Is a ghost airport in Spain of all places, and that is exactly what one Chinese investment company is trying to buy and transform into a cargo transportation hub.
The court wasn't convinced. The sale was canceled, and the airport's reputation took another hit. A year later, a new owner stepped in. Ciudad Real International Airport, SL, paid €56 million, shifted focus to specialized aviation, and dropped hopes of becoming a commercial hub. In 2019, the airport quietly reopened with a chartered 737 carrying no passengers, just crew. A water cannon salute marked the moment. It was more theater than takeoff. Then came COVID. Airlines grounded fleets and needed parking fast. Ciudad Real's dry climate and wide aprons turned it into one of Europe's largest aircraft storage sites, hosting Virgin Atlantic 747s, Iberia A330s, even jets from Cathay Pacific. That temporary role opened new doors. In 2023, Sabina Technics signed a 25-year lease to build a full MRO center, targeting 100 aircraft per year. Others like Willis Lease Finance joined in, adding recycling and dismantling operations. By 2025, there are still no passenger flights, but Ciudad Real is slowly becoming something else, an aviation services cluster. Not what was promised, but finally something real. Ciudad Real Airport isn't empty anymore, but it remains one of Europe's most notorious infrastructure failures. Built with a bold ambition, opened at the worst time, and shuttered within 3 years, it became a symbol of Spain's construction bubble, a €1 billion gateway without passengers. More mirage than megaproject. The terminal still waits, the footbridge still leads nowhere, and the name Don Quixote somehow fitting, an airport chasing a fantasy. Yet today, Ciudad Real is no longer a ruin. Planes are stored, serviced, and scrapped. Not the future it was built for, but finally, a purpose. It's a reminder. Infrastructure only takes off when grounded in reality. You can build runways and terminals, but without passengers in demand, they're just empty buildings. So what do you think? Could Ciudad Real ever become a true aerospace hub? Or is this as good as it gets? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this episode of Urban Giants, subscribe for more grounded stories from the world of infrastructure.